Hey everybody! Today we're going to talk a little bit about what it takes to create and digitize historical laces for all of your costuming needs. I get asked this question a lot. How do you do it? It's complicated. It's a lot more involved than I thought it was going to be, for sure. But we're going to walk you through all of the things that you probably need in order to be able to do this. So let's get started. Number one, you're going to need a digitizing software of some sort. There are a lot of them out there. Some come even with your embroidery machine. I use one called Embroidery. It's the one that I got, and it's the one that I figured out how to use, and that's it. That's the only reason why. I picked one, and I just started working with it. I am self-taught, besides like maybe a couple of YouTube videos, but to be honest, a lot of them are very long and I don't have the attention span to sit through like an hour-long tutorial. So a lot of times people say, can you show me how you actually digitize? And I'm gonna say that that's kind of difficult to do because every software is gonna be different. It's gonna have different places where all of the different settings are, etc., etc., etc. I will say that it can be really helpful to buy a basic freestanding lace pattern from a good vendor and stitch it out on your machine and sit there and watch it stitch out, because that's going to show you things like strength and the right order of various stitches and what is needed to make sure it doesn't just like fall apart once you dissolve the stabilizer. Digitizing software tends to be a little pricey. I'm just going to warn you about that unless you can get it as some sort of perk with an embroidery machine that you buy. But the embroidery machine you buy, if that's coming as a perk, is probably going to be expensive as well. Do I think it's worth the investment? Absolutely. Just like Photoshop is worth the money for all of what it can potentially do. If you want to be able to use your software as you grow in your abilities, you need a software that can do all of the things that you need. So once you have your digitizing software and you've been playing around with it and you're getting some ideas of like how to use it, you're gonna want to get lace books or books on embroidery and historical embroidery, and you're gonna really need to study them very closely. That's really important so that you can actually look at and sort of try to emulate what you're seeing in these historical extant garments, etc., that are embroidered or historical lace. So you're going to need your software, and then after your software, you're also going to need a machine. There are exceptionally expensive and amazing embroidery machines out there. They can cook you dinner. I do not have those. When I started out, I went for the lowest possible I could spend, but with a hoop that I felt like was substantial enough for me to get a large enough embroidery size. So I would not recommend that you get a machine that only has a 4x4 hoop. And this is really important when you're first starting out. Everyone says, my sewing machine that I just bought, it can do embroidery. But then you find out that the hoop is like this big, because remember, you have to be able to fit whatever size of embroidery you have onto a hoop. The machine you buy can only accommodate a maximum size of hoop, so you can't just buy a bigger hoop and then hope that it works with your machine. The more expensive your machine is, usually the larger the hoop you can accommodate. I actually started out by buying a Brother PE 770, which was at the very bottom of what you could purchase from Brother, and then what I did is I learned that you can only stitch up to slightly smaller than 5x7 hoop, but I bought a multi-positional hoop, which basically allows me to digitize a maximum 5.5 inches length of lace, but then I could restitch that same design right below the other one by repositioning the hoop and then get an 11-inch piece of lace. I would suggest that you get a machine that has at least a 5x7 hoop. So what I got were the Brother machines. I like Brother. They stitch out beautifully. And the nice thing about Brother machines is you can take them to, like, you know, there's all kinds of places that you can have them serviced. Those places often teach you classes about how to use the machines. And then also I have a Brother Quattro, which is actually used, which I got, you know, it was refurbished and I got it from a dealer, was at one of these sewing machine places. So that's always a great way to save money if you're looking for something, but you do not want to spend $10,000. And you can. But if you don't want to spend $10,000 on an embroidery machine, which to me is just, if you're just using this as a hobby, you don't really need all the bells and whistles, especially if you're making freestanding lace. Like, you're not going to need a 10 needle machine that can use like 10 colors at once, because you're only going to be using one color at once. I absolutely love my Brother Quattro though, because it has an 8x12 hoop. It has opened up so many possibilities for me in terms of what I can do. It helps me to make longer lengths of lace. I've been able to digitize an entire partlet with it. That was definitely a worthwhile investment, and I didn't pay full price. There were definitely stitches on the machine, but because I got it from a dealer who also services machines, I knew that like if there was anything that was a little off, I could be like, hey, you need to fix this. And I actually got it with a warranty. You can find used machines. Just make sure that they're actually from an established place that can actually like be held accountable. Once you have it digitized, once you know it's the right size, once you have a machine so that you can test out the things that you're making, then you're gonna need stabilizer. For historical embroidery especially, I usually tend to stick to only 2 different things, maybe 3. The first kind of stabilizer I use is from All Stitch and is called Vilene. This will fully dissolve in the water and is great for freestanding lace projects. The second kind I use is a medium weight cutaway that I use to back embroidery. On silk it works wonderful and can be trimmed down after stitching. For velvets, I use one other type of stabilizer, but not very much. If you are working with a velvet that has a tall nap, you'll definitely want this. It's another type of water-soluble stabilizer, but it's meant to lay on top of the velvet to keep the stitches from sinking too far into the nap. It can be removed by soaking or dabbing it with a sponge, and it's called Solvi Water-Soluble Topper, which I also found at All Stitch. In my opinion, don't bother with the lightweight, get the medium weight. It's the worst thing in the world when you don't have the appropriate stabilizer. Everything gets all wrinkled and it's not smooth, or sometimes it'll just like there's holes and it's just not good. Definitely make sure that you have the right weight of stabilizer for what it is that you're making. Thread is really important as well. You're probably going to be tempted to try to use linen thread, and I can guarantee you I have tried like 15 different kinds from all over the world. None of them work. They tear up, they rip up, they jam up your machine. Don't do it. This is probably gonna have to be something where you have to compromise on natural fibers or the fibers they would have used. I am able to use, and I do use, Aurifil long staple Egyptian cotton thread produced in Italy, and I absolutely love it. It is the smoothest finish I've seen so far. You don't have to be synthetic, although synthetics when you're starting out are probably your best bet because they aren't going to jam up your machine. They're not going to fill up your machine with a bunch of like cotton fluff. So like if you don't mind synthetic is the nicest to your machine. I will put it that way. The other historical fiber you can use is silk thread. I use the 50 weight silk thread from Superior Threads. It's very nice. It's going to be more money than the synthetics, and so far I haven't seen super large cones for silk, so you will probably be changing small spools quite often. Good thing to keep in mind if you have a large project. For metallics and synthetics, I use Madeira thread. Silky is also not bad, but for metallics, I have had so many issues with various brands and barely any with Madeira. To me, it's well worth not wasting my money on a less expensive brand because you can buy lots of thread and waste your time too, honestly. Their metallics line is so great, and they do sell huge cones, so you aren't changing out your thread all the time. Most of the thread weights that I'm using, because I tend to be making lace, which is very fine, is like a 50 weight. And so the weights are gonna matter too. I'm trying to do, you know, the bobbin thread matching the thread on the top. If you have something too thick, for some reason on the bobbin thread, sometimes that just gets jammed up and then you're in trouble. But please don't try to use linen. I have accepted the fact that I'm not gonna jam like real metals into my machine. I need to protect the machine. You need to protect the machine. The machine will be nice to you if you are nice to it. There are going to be compromises. Every machine, every brand has its own design file name. So like for Brother, it's .pes. So when you make that design, you're going to put that on a USB, and then you're going to put that USB into the machine, and then that's how you're going to find all of your patterns and recreate your patterns. So USBs are really important. I just splurged and got like the biggest possible one I could. Some people like to color code and do all of that, and that's great if you can. Make sure that you have oil for your machines. They're going to need a little oil now and then. they are going to creak. Please make sure that you're changing your needles. I mean, I would say, honestly, I don't really change my needles maybe as much as it should be. I have, a pack of organ needles. I will change it out whenever I start to hear the squeaking. Other tools that I like to use is I actually have like a little small vacuum attachment that will suck out all the fluff, because if you are using cotton to make lace, you're gonna have a ton of lint. So it's really important that you keep that as clean as possible. It helps with the general functioning of the machine and will keep you from having to go get it serviced as quickly as you would need to if you just were completely ignoring that. I also get something, it's in a little bottle. It's called Sewer's Aid, and it's silicone based, I believe, and you use it on your top cone to coat the threads and ease them through the machine. It also helps lessen the lint you get with cotton thread, and it evaporates completely, so it doesn't leave anything on your embroidery. I definitely recommend that you get those thread thingies. I will show you what they actually are. Those are so much better for, getting everything to run smoothly. All of this is about pleasing the machine, right? Yeah, making sure that all of your elements support the process so that you're not getting frustrated all the time with like, now the machine is stuck, now this is stuck, now I have to take it. I learned the hard way. I got so much cotton fluff stuck in my machines and I had to service all of them in one go. And I was trying to run a business and I had nothing to make things with. And I was like, what am I gonna do? I just love it. I love the process. I love digitizing. I really do have so much fun with this kind of challenge. And if you found this video helpful, I suggest you go watch this one where I show more of how I actually use the embroidery once I make it. Take care, salty possums. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for being here. Take care.